Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Now, last time we got together, we had a surprise. And that the topic of our last video was surprise. What you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. And so seeing was involved, but not the eyes as the means for seeing objects. Because we think the eyes are seeing things. And that's why that last video was kind of interesting, because it pointed out that what we see, what we think we see as objects, are interpretations that we make in the mind based upon our past. The past is the filter through which we see our world, but not with the eyes. We see with the mind's interpretation of the data that's received. And so that was kind of interesting. And in that, I mentioned A Course in Miracles. And this seems so logical to me when I read it. It says, it is impossible not to believe what you see. And I just said seeing was an interpretation of the mind based upon filtering information through your past memories. So it's impossible not to believe what you see, but you're not seeing objects out there in the outside world. You are seeing interpretations of data inside of you. It's still impossible not to believe what you think you're seeing in the outside world through that mechanism. But here's the kicker. But it is equally impossible to see what you don't believe. Oh, this is a dichotomy here. This is an oxymoron. Because you're not seeing with your eyes, but you believe you are seeing with your eyes. And therefore, you believe what you're producing inside, which is your world, and then you project it outside. It's equally impossible for you to see in the outside world what you don't believe through your belief system. If you have no experience in an object and it comes into your awareness, and you have no experience of what that is, you won't be able to see it. You won't even know it's there. Oh, how mysterious is that? This was pointed out. There was a movie, it's got to be 10 years old now at least, called What the Bleep Do You Know? What the bleep, now the bleep represents, you can put anything you want in there. What the bleep do you know? And one of those things was an understanding that when the Columbus first come to the New World, the Native Americans on the island that he landed on couldn't see him, couldn't had no reference to a ship that size with white sails. So they thought he was a god. They thought he was coming down from heaven. They didn't see the situation the way it was. They were seeing the situation through what they knew. And it took them some time before they realized, hey, they walk on two legs, and they got one head and two eyes and two ears. We got a lot in common with them. So then they started being able to recognize their new friend from Spain, who turned out not to be that good of a friend in the long run. So that was the kind of stuff we talked about last time. It was interesting. Now this time, we're going to talk about something else. And I found something else too. When I first started doing these videos and editing them, it took me about 20 minutes to edit a video. But that was a long time ago. Now that I know more about editing, each one of these half-hour videos or less, or whatever they are, it can take up to 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes to edit them. So education can be time-consuming too. So today we're going to talk about, you tell me your thoughts. You tell me your thoughts, and I will show you the world you're creating. You tell me your thoughts. Now, thoughts are produced within the limits of your belief system, because you can't think thoughts outside of what you know, which is your belief system. So you think thoughts within the belief system. And part of those, and this is a sticky part of those are called self-talk. How you talk to yourself on the inside through your belief system. Because you can only think and talk within your beliefs of what you know. So there you are. And if you tell me what your thoughts are, if you tell me what your self-talk is, if you tell me what you're telling yourself, I'll tell you what kind of world you're going to have. I'll tell you what kind of world you must have. And then you take that inside created world through that process of the standard model in the illusion, and you come up with a projection outside of you of the world that you create inside based upon your thoughts around your belief system. See, there's nothing outside of you but energy. And yet it seems so solid and so firm, like these little books here. Very solid and very firm. But it's because of what's going on inside of you. It's an interpretation through the lens of your past. Very difficult to understand. Because we are so sure there's physical things out there. And of course, my next book will be around that. And so I'll go into a lot more depth in that in the future. So, in a moment, we're going to move again into the whiteboard, and we're going to use the standard model with a little bit of twist here and there to see things a little differently and to recognize again, we're creating our world. And our world starts on the inside and works its way out into the outside world that we think is there, but is basically a projection of what you're doing inside. Interesting concept. Now, why am I always concerned about doing this? Because in different ways, I've done this. There's a lot of pain and suffering in the world, and there doesn't have to be. Because just like the outside world is a projection of what you're doing in here, your pain and suffering that you think you are experiencing through the body is also an interpretation of the mind. And when you realize that you can begin to change that, you can begin to change everything and create a new world, a brave new world, and let go of the past. Let go of the past, which isn't real and isn't there anyway. Oh, there is much to understand about the illusion and to support you in healing and in change. See you in a moment. Welcome back, and thank you for sticking around. Now, this is going to be free-flowing because I don't have a good diagram, but we're going to do what we can do, and we'll see what happens. Now, up here, we have this saying, tell me your thoughts, and I will show you your world. Now, so we're talking about thoughts, and we know from other things that we've talked about in other videos, you can only think from within your belief system. You can't think outside of what you have in your belief system. Your belief system, as we talked about before, comes from life experiences that you've had over and over, and you end up making a memory of each of those experiences because the experience is gone. The event, the experience that you went through is gone, and all you have left is a memory. So you can only think within that framework. I know you think you can think, well, I can think any thoughts I want. Yeah, you can. But they're all going to be within your belief system of what you know. You can't think of anything that you don't know. Part of the illusion. Beliefs are made from memories. Memories are creations, interpretations that you make of the event that happens. So your memory, I know we think it is, but your memory is not the event. Your memory is a unique creation based upon older memories, older experiences that bring you up to the present moment. Now, we said this before. Your present moment, what's going on right now, you interpret it through your past. So you never see the present moment the way it is. You always see the present through the lens of your past. So now, let us go a little bit further into this and recognize that you talk to yourself. Yeah, you think all people talking to themselves, they have a mental disorder. But we're always communicating with ourselves. And we have two aspects of that. One is our egoic self that we create from within the illusion that is our identity. And then we have the original self that came into this illusion. So we had these two dichotomies within us. And the memories will be the way they are depending on which one of those voices we listen to. So if you tell me your thoughts, your self-talk, how you are talking to yourself, I'll tell you what kind of world you're going to create, that you have to create. Because your self-talk is a reflection of your belief system. And most of your self-talk is out of conscious awareness. That self-talk can, in some cases, be called the inner critic. That when you do something, it tells you, you didn't do it right. We don't do that in this family. You have to do it differently. And that gets us back to some of the other self-talk that we have discussed. The biggest one is the inside belief through our belief system, we're not good enough. And so now it's coming back because we talked about that when we talked about, you remember the big head? I put a reference to that in the last video, that our inside belief system determines what we're going to see in the outside energy system of everything. We cherry pick the everything that's there to create a world that matches our belief system. So the more negative our self-talk, the more negative will be the world that I'll show you. The more positive will be your world and how you move through your life. Isn't that interesting? See, because we think it's all outside. Oh, it's the outside world. I can't do nothing about that. That's what I keep coming back with. We create the outside world for us. And it's based upon our belief system. And what we see in the outside world is because of how we are thinking, our thoughts. And then that's what we see in the outside world. We project them onto the outside world. We say, oh, I made that inside. and I projected it outside. No, that can't be true. That's too mysterious. So, in this very short video, because I wanted to make a short point, and then we're going to move on in the next video into something else that's going to use this information. So now I want to point out something else. Why you think the way you do, as we said, it's because of your belief system. And your belief system is because of your memories. See, when you get a lot of memories around the same subject, they coalesce into a very strong belief. And that belief is going to create your world. And your world is going to, they dance together. Your belief system and the world that you have. So if you want a different world, you really have to break your beliefs. Now, how do you do that? You have to heal the negative memories that you carry. And when you do that, you change your belief system. You change your belief system, you think different thoughts. You think different thoughts, you'll have a different world. If you tell me what your new thoughts are, I again will be able to tell you what your world is. So, now I want to point out something else. You think the thoughts you do, your inside self-talk, because of your internal programming. Now, there is an old saying, it's quite old, several hundred years old, but the concept goes back much farther. And it's kind of like this. If you give me your child for the first 5 years of its life, I'll show you the man. Let me have the first 5 years of programming, and I'll show you what that person is going to be. Now, this is actually it's an old. It's a belief from. First time I heard of it was around the Jesuits. Jesuits are a teaching arm of the Catholic Church, where they do a lot of studies, a lot of work, very industrious part of the church, and they recognize that, hey, if I can program this little infant for the first 5 years, they're going to follow that programming throughout their life. And that's true, unless you change it. And it's true of you. We have all been programming. Most of our programming is through our family of origin. That's the way the system is set up. The first, actually, studies show it can go up to 7 years. That from birth and even before, for the first 7 years, is basically all download of programs. from family of origin, from society, from the country that you're in, the history of all the things that you have to do within society to be considered a member of that society. And to be a member is very important. If you're not a member, you're ostracized. And being ostracized from your community, devastating. Devastating. Because the community is what holds everything together. And so you are programmed in the first 7 years. That's why all of that stuff that you learned about how to say thank you and please, and how to go to the bathroom, and how to act in public situations, and how to respond to the family, and all of that stuff is all part of your programming. And as well as, and it's good. I mean, we wouldn't have a society if we didn't have that kind of stuff. But there is a darker side to it. You're also programmed by your negative experiences within your family of origin, within your community, within your school system, within your religious upbringing. A lot of it, yeah. I catch all. When I was doing therapy, I found a lot of that. Most devastating are, of course, childhood abuses. Also, I work with some cults, not with cults, but people who were in cults, born and tried to get out of them. And it's very difficult, even if they want to leave. Their programming is so strong. So that's why I'm mentioning it now. That you can have the life you want, but you got to change your belief system. As I said in the last, I think it was the last video, okay? And I mentioned in therapy, people come in and they say, oh, I got problems. Oh, the world's full of problems. Their significant other, their kids, their job, their boss, their all kinds of stuff. And I know I shouldn't do it, but it just comes out. I say, what do you want to change? And I've lost so many clients, not many, maybe a dozen, because they say, me change? No, you got it wrong. They got to change. And I remember one of the things that, now this is an old guy, he's passed now, Wayne Dyer. I used to listen to a lot of his lectures and books. And he had the same kind of thing. Of course, he was a PhD. I wasn't a PhD. He would say, they would come in and they'd sit down and say, oh, my mother-in-law, she's this way. And he gets out his prescription pad. And he says, oh, we got to write this down. So he writes a prescription. And he says, and my son won't talk to me. He walks out of the room. When I walk in the room, oh, let me write that down. Oh, another prescription. And about 4 or 5 times he says, you know, my wife, she does this, he does that, writes them all down. So he's got a big stack of prescriptions. And after the guy says, well, thank you for listening. Oh, I'm looking forward to coming back, and I'll take my prescriptions. When he says, oh, no, they're not for you. They're for your mother-in-law and your son. And you got to change you. Which means you have to change your belief system. Which means you have to change your thoughts. Which means you have to reprogram your self-talk. Unfortunately, most of your self-talk is below your conscious awareness, and you only see a small portion come up through the mist as a little peak, and you say, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not liked. My parents like my brother more than me. That comes up a lot. It's not that they do, it's their interpretation of what's going on. See, it's our interpretation. Let me say it another way. The truth isn't important. That's the bottom line. The truth isn't important. But what you believe the truth is, that's important. Now, the difference between what the truth is and what you believe the truth is can be miles apart. They are two different worlds. And the closer they come together, these two worlds of what is true and what you believe is true, you got to change your memories. You got to heal your past. You got to see with new vision a brave new world that you can feel comfortable in. And that's the way it is. The egoic world doesn't see the world. You're not programmed that way. They don't talk in that language. And so you have a different concept of what the world is when you're in the illusion. And when you step back and begin to look closely at how you're programmed in the first 7 years of your life. Now, if it's working for you, wonderful. If it's not working for you, relationships come and go, jobs come and go, addictions are in your life, you got a problem. And it's going to be because of the past, not the present. It's going to be because of your memories and not what's happening right this moment. Now, many times, a professional, psychologist, or a counselor can support you in recognizing those things. But when it's all said and done, you're the one that's got to change. People fight against that. People fight against that hard because their belief system is who they think they are. And to say, you got to change your belief system, says you have to change who you are. How can you change who you are? How can you change who I am? Oh, we have much to talk about here in the illusion. So we'll have some more fun next time we get together. Now, I forgot to, the reference from A Course in Miracles. I always forgot this. I forgot it last video. But I always try to tie it in that I'm not making this stuff up. See? Thoughts are not big. Thoughts are not big or little, powerful or weak. They are merely true or false. Those that are true create their own likeness. Those that are true create their own likeness. Those thoughts that are true. Those that are false make theirs. That's that dichotomy. Now another reference in the course. Every thought you have contributes to the truth or to the illusion. Either you extend the truth or it multiplies the illusion. The truth is not important. What you believe the truth is, that's important. Bye now. Don't be shy now. Subscribe below and hit the like button. You know you want to.